Welcome back to C10 Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Farrell, and I'm sitting alone in my basement because Adam could not be bothered for the fifth week in a row. It feels like
it's been a little bit.
It's been a summer. We didn't officially claim a summer break, but we're taking a summer break just because after 320 episodes, I needed a break. And then now you did things that obviously I have not introduced you. Dusty Nixon is on the show because I'm a terrible host. He's here to give us a podcast because I have refused to for 4 weeks.
I keep every Monday morning I get in my truck and I open up my phone and I'm like, refresh the podcast app. Nope, not again.
Son of a
not
bitch.
Again.
This has to be the longest we've gone without doing a podcast.
Yeah, this is for sure the longest break in the history of it, which I can't fault you guys.
Yeah,
just trying to do it with you like once every couple of months. I'm just like, oh yeah, I got to rearrange this, got to think about this, got to do that. Yeah, and he has twice as many children as I do.
Yeah. And he has way less set schedule, when it comes to hours, because what time you're getting home from work tomorrow.
Yeah, he works at least 3 times as many hours as I do every week. So
oh yeah, for sure. So we just needed a break, and it turned into be kind of just a crazy summer. So just making it work. But yeah, I got a few things to update on, and then obviously you have things to update on. First off, you are no longer an Instagram liar, so that is cool.
Yeah, so I've had some variation of the name Silver C10 since I was 13 years old on AOL Instant Messenger, and
you've had this. Has this always been your pickup for that long, or was it your?
So we pulled it out from behind a gas station whenever I was 12 years old.
Okay. Yep. I do remember that.
It had been a farm truck. It had been sitting at that point since the last time it had been registered was 1983. So that was 15 years at that point. Took it all the way down to cab on chassis at that point, or actually got it all the way down to bare chassis at that point, rebuilt it, got it on the road when I was 16. Intending for it to be my first vehicle to drive to high school, and then worked out a deal with some friends that did body work on really high end Mopar restorations and stuff, and figured out that there was no way that truck was going to get driven to a high school parking lot.
Probably the right choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did Power Tour in 2003 and 2004. We drove it to Tennessee, down through New Orleans, and then back to Texas the first time, and then from Tulsa all the way to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and back the second time. Oh, cannonballed it all the way back from Green Bay in one shot back to Texas.
Ooh,
the second year.
That's a haul.
So from there, ended up putting a hotter small block in it. Originally it was just a mild 350, nothing crazy. All stock suspension and everything. From there, put a hotter 400 based small block in it, went bracket racing with it for a little bit, figured out that I'm a terrible bracket racer. And from there had some engine issues a couple different times, and just kind of tore it apart, put it back together, tore it apart, put it back together. And then the last time we tore it apart, we were like, okay, my dad was looking for a project. He said, I want to build something cool. I don't want to have to do body work or pay somebody to do body work on it. And we had the truck sitting here with the body work is all nice and everything, but it's all still just this wallowy old 60s truck suspension on it. So we decided, let's make it into a solid cruiser / autocross capable type build. So that was 3.5 years ago now. And
was it running 3.5 years ago?
Yeah, so
you were running and driving around with it?
So it had, I think we had a problem with the transmission that was causing the torque converter to push out into the crank, and it had chewed up the thrust bearing in the back of the engine. So it was like it needed to come apart. The motor needed to come apart to get freshened up and rebuilt anyway. So why not just take the truck down to the bare frame and completely rebuild the suspension?
That sounds perfectly logical to me.
Yeah. It's like going to the dealership to get an oil change and then driving home with a new car. You know, like
who hasn't been there? Yeah, but the scope creep happens. It's fine. So so what'd you end up doing?
So we looked at everything that was out there, and those trucks, whenever you lower them with the factory suspension, the lower control arms hang down way low. There's not a great way to get exhaust up through the chassis on them. There's just a lot of limitations on it whenever you're still working with the stock stuff, and the geometry is just 9 kinds of terrible because it was just meant to haul hay bales around. It wasn't meant to ever do anything, remotely performance oriented. So, so we looked at a lot of different bolt-on solutions, and it was everything's just kind of compromised. So we ended up getting hooked up with one of the guys that we ran against in Optima quite a bit, named Chris Smith. He's got Smitty's Custom Automotive up in Ohio. He'd worked with Rob at No Limit Engineering a lot on a lot of different trucks. So he got us set up with Rob's front suspension he calls a wide ride IFS, and then his 4-link rear suspension that we actually ended up modifying and turning into a 3-link. So we've got a lot of adjustment on that, on the being able to dial in anti-squat and all that kind of stuff. So
wow,
this is it's a complete bolt-on cross member that completely revises all the geometry in the front, puts a steering rack on it versus the big sloppy steering gear. You got like much improved camber curves, roll center, all that kind of stuff. And it all tucks up super close to the bottom of the truck. So we set the truck up on the frame table at 4.5 inches of ride height. And I guarantee it has more ground clearance than what it had whenever the truck sat like probably 6 inches higher in the back and at least 5 inches higher in the front.
I remember seeing you when you first put it like on the ground and you had the wheels on it, before you rolled it out of the garage, and you're like, man, that looks really low. And then it's kind of right where I expected it to be. Like when you posted the first picture, I was like, that thing's on the ground.
Yeah. So the cool thing about the way we did it was everything was set up at that height whenever we were mocking it all up. So it was, I think the first time that we got it on the ground with just a cab on it, that was whenever the realization hit, because the roof of it is like eye level now. Nice. And you just don't it's a full size truck. Like it's a lot smaller than what a full size truck is now, but it's still a full size truck.
Right.
And yeah, being able to rest your elbow on the edge of the roof is something a little bit different. But so yeah, we got it together. My dad drove it for the first time down the road probably 3 weeks ago. And then it's had probably a total of about 60 miles put on it. So of course we loaded up in the trailer and took it autocrossing this week.
Yeah, that's did you always plan on autocrossing it? Because to me, I when you were talking about it, I always kind of pictured it being just like a cruiser. So like when the first thing you do is autocross it, I immediately think, man, this thing scope creeped into this like beautiful restoration, and now it's going to scope creep into this autocross race car thing.
So the whole time we were building it, or doing this iteration of it, my goal with it has been to just be to be a solid cruiser. So it's got a new vintage air conditioning system in it.
Oh wow!
It's gonna get a solid stereo put in it. We built it to be comfortable and be able to cruise down the road. It's got 373 gears with a T56, so it'll run 75 miles an hour at like 2,200 RPM.
Uh-huh.
And it's got a gigantic aluminum radiator, so it does it when it's 95 degrees. It runs at 170 degrees. But I wanted that, plus I just want to be able to go to an autocross and hurt one guy's feelings with it. Like if I can just go and make one guy mad that he wasn't faster than the truck, that's my goal. So
how did autocross go?
So we we co-drove it, and it's our local SCCA. You just run you run one heat. We got 4 runs each, and whenever you co-drive, you can split it up however. So my dad's been running. So I've been autocrossing since 2009. My dad's been running since like 2013, 2014, something like that. And he's driven the Camaro and the Z, and then my mom's 2016 Camaro quite a bit. And then I've driven a few different things. So we had no real idea what to expect from it because, the suspension setup on the front is proven. It's a known quantity. There's a lot of guys that are really fast with it. We got a set of shocks on it that we're not totally sure. We were told they were good. They're AFCO double adjustables that were done by Detroit Speed originally. But we don't have they didn't come with a book or anything. We're like, okay, I think this is a good setup for I think this is a good place for like the nitrogen charge in the remote reservoirs and all that kind of stuff. Like just taking wild guesses based on what we've done on the Camaro. And, I went through and got all the unsprung weights and all the different things to get them and the motion ratios to figure out the suspension frequency and wheel rates and all that stuff. And then kind of based it on a softer version of what we did on the Camaro. So there was a lot of thought put into what we had there, but it's still a complete unknown quantity until you toss it down a hill and throw it into a corner at 45 miles an hour. So it's got 315 AO52s on all 4 corners. And if you have 315 AO52s on all 4 corners of pretty much anything, I think it'll just stick and go.
Yeah, it's like putting RE71 RSs on something. It masks a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So right out of the gate, he drove it first, and I was riding shotgun, and about a third of the way through the lap, you can hear it on the video. I just started laughing. He's just tossing it back and forth there was a slalom and kind of ran down a hill through a couple of big offsets and then a big sweeper on the back. And it just it's big and heavy. It kind of takes it a second to lean over and take a set, but then it just sticks. Oh. And then the first run I did in it, by the end of it, I'm just throwing it into a corner and then powering it out with the tail out, just driving it with the throttle, just like I've always done with the Camaro. And it was some of the sloppier driving I've done on an autocross course in a long time, but it was really fun.
I was going to say, it sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So it's the current engine is a 420 small block. It's got all the top end off of the Camaro. So it's the Holley EFI race throttle body and AFR 220 heads. Not quite as big a cam, not quite as much compression, but makes just a ton of mid-range power. So there was one section where I was rolling a pretty slow 180 in second gear, and then it would just power into hazing the tires all the way down the next section up to, I looked at the data, it was topping out at 64 miles an hour, and it was still just dancing the back end around.
Yeah, and that is moving on an autocross course.
Yeah.
For
a 3,600 pound truck. And then it's the one thing we ran into. So there's 2 things that were on the list at the end of the day. It needs a little bit more spring. I think it just kind of rolls quite a bit.
I was going to say, even in that picture you posted, I don't think you're in a turn, but you are squatting quite a bit. So it looks soft. Again, I'm not watching the video at the moment. I'm just looking at a picture, but
yeah, it's pretty soft. And I knew I was on so all the weights that I got whenever I did the spring rates, whenever I did the calculations for them, we still didn't have the front sheet metal on the truck. So I was kind of I'm okay, the hood's 75 pounds. The fenders are probably 25, something. So I stood up on I got it up on the scales. We've got weights that we put in the seat to represent driver weight. And then I put a little bit of weight in the bed to simulate some fuel. And then I stood on the radiator support. And then, so I was 160 pounds square on the nose. It's probably about right. And I was within, I was within like 150 pounds total, and the front to rear split was almost dead on. So,
wow, good for you, man.
Like,
I would have been nowhere close.
Kind of lucked into it, but so yeah, a little bit more spring rate just to kind of give it a little bit more like compression rate, you know?
Yeah.
And then a little bit more. I think we've got 4 or 5 positions on we've got a spline sway bar on the front. So we've got 4 or 5 positions on it. So I think he was like on the second softest on it. So we've got a little ways that we can tighten that one up.
Yep.
And
have you done it? Like, what type of compression and rebound do you have on that? Like 24 clicks of adjustment or?
Yeah. So rebound is actually, I think he said 38 clicks on these things. So, which is insane.
What?
So we, I think he ended up we tightened up compression on the front a little bit. I think like it was a lower number of clicks. I think he went like 4 clicks or something like that on the front just to try to slow down the front end of it some. Mm-hmm. And then the other big issue that kind of that kept me from being able to really push it was just the rear. It had a lot of rear brake bias, which on a truck like that, you don't need much brake in the rear at all, if any. And so we went from like, and we've got a Willwood, just twist proportioning valve on it. So we went from like, look at the brake pedal, lock the rears, to like kind of skid the rears a little bit, to by the last one after we'd put like 5 turns of bias out of it, at least 5, might have been more than that.
Is there anything left? Is that like basically
there's still quite a bit? Yeah, we kept on going, and I think we've got a tandem, or not a tandem. We've got a Willwood pedal setup that's got the split masters in it with a balance bar. So there's some work to be done there too, to try to get, like I would like to get it working right with the balance bar and the master cylinder sizing versus just restricting the crap out of the rears. Like I would like to get everything happy without just having to cut the rears down to nothing, but
right.
We'll see how that goes. And that's just a more seat time and tuning thing. So
what are you running for brakes?
It's got Willwood, super light 6 pistons on the front. And then I don't remember which model caliper it is, 4 piston on the rear.
Okay.
It's what we hit. They got robbed out of the Camaro spare parts pile. So
that was my next question, because that sure sounds like something you had on the Camaro.
It's legitimately the brakes that were on the Camaro whenever it was still together. So yeah, the Camaro's going to get something bigger whenever it goes back together. But
yeah, I'm excited about the scope creep on that too.
Yeah, that one's
that one's gonna be nuts.
Yep, that one is up. Probably going to get it up on the frame table here in the next couple weeks, and yep.
Are you basically stripping that down to the frame, starting from scratch, or do you have to fix something on the frame?
Structurally, it should be good.
Okay,
but
I thought so. I was like, oh man, I hope so.
Yeah, no. So the kind of like 3 main things on the list, or I guess 4. So one is just general weight reduction. Like this is a big, heavy car. It was 3,450 with me in it. And that's throwing around a lot of car on a racetrack. Yep. So yeah, weight reduction, we're going to redo the rear suspension into a 3-link, have a lot more tuning capability there. We've always had the truck arms on it and they work really well, but there's just not a lot of like anti-squat, all of the different things that you can adjust to affect how a car accelerates and brakes, we don't have in the rear. It is what it is. We're going to redo the roll cage because the cage was kind of a hodgepodge of stuff that we did in 2006, 7, 8.
Okay. Yeah. Cause you started, I don't have a picture of it. I'm not going to go look for one, but like you started with, you were doing drag race stuff. So I assume you kind of started with almost like a roll bar and then just kind of added to that. And then like without really any, like, did you have a series in mind to like build one, or did you just kind of like try to meet everything, or just not even try to meet anything? I can't remember.
Yeah. So we looked primarily at NHRA's rules because that was we had doing a little bit of everything with it in mind at the time, and it was built as a full cage from the beginning. But we have a lot more capabilities now than what we did at that time.
Only by a lot.
Yeah. So like, whenever we were building the car originally, we were just like, these springs are like real stiff. It seems like, let's put them on there. Well, now we're doing all the calculations and stuff. Well, now it's like we look at the roll cage and it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, especially for a heavy car. You definitely want to have more cage than you need.
Yeah. Yep. So my thinking right now is that it might just get like a full like wheel to wheel style cage, even without the idea of ever going wheel to wheel with it, just on the idea of big horsepower car time attack stuff. Like, might as well put door bars in it and have a good solid foundation that feel really good about being on track in. So
yeah, you'll never regret getting the better cage.
Yeah.
Or any safety equipment. Like I've definitely gone into that wholeheartedly. It's like, I don't want to skimp on this.
Yeah,
it's the one thing you do is the one thing that'll completely screw you over.
Yeah, and it was and also hitting a wall with a car will make you think differently about things too. So
yeah. No, mine have always been light. Knock on wood, always. But yeah, it doesn't take much for you to get hurt real bad or hurt the car real bad.
Yeah, in the scheme of things, ours wasn't bad at all. And if we hadn't already had one vehicle torn apart and hadn't had such bigger ideas for what the car needed to turn into, it could have easily already been back together. But
yeah, so I got the picture up right now from Heartland, just because it was the first one I found on your Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, so it's, to me, it just looks like fender, door, quarter, wing, and then that's the major stuff. Everything else, yeah. I mean, but at like me, anytime something like that happens, like, this is a good opportunity to change everything.
Yeah. So we'd been talking for a while because it was like Optima kind of changed directions, and the schedule wasn't really convenient for us. And it's like the cars, there's no way a car that weighs 3,400 pounds, unless it makes 1,000 horsepower, is going to do anything in a grid life class. There's a lot of different, or at least a 50-year-old car.
So what twin turbos are you getting?
Yeah, no. So there is an LS short block sitting under the table in the shop next to the car now too. So it's still gonna be NA, despite what Jabay tried to talk me into whenever I talked to them on Slip Angle. But it's like, big old honking nasty turbos. No. I have a kid at home.
That's what the new cage is for.
Yeah. So.
That'll be cool. We'll definitely want to keep updates on that.
Yeah. So getting it torn apart and looking at, I think it'll primarily be like as far as a rule set kind of focus, kind of keeping track mod mostly in mind as a general area for, like track mod opens up, being able to do more composite body panels and doing a lot more aero, which I don't know that we'll really exploit, but there's a lot of different areas on the car that can definitely be optimized. And yeah, that rule set kind of seems like a good sweet spot for us to be able to build something that'll work good there, and then keep a decent amount of interior in it, be able to do Optima stuff if we want to, or do like SCCA cam autocross and different things like that. So kind of keep it versatile where we can go do things, because we have automotive ADHD, obviously.
Right. So. Yeah. Whatever seems fun for that weekend, focus on that, and not have yourself be so stuck in one thing.
Yeah.
No, I think that'll be super cool. And I'm excited to see what you do with that. And then, just keep it the same color brown and it'll be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. We can't get away from that color. Is it originally
a custom color? Like for those that don't have YouTube up, it's not brown. It's like a really dark. It's like a dark burgundy, but it was labeled brown on a Hallett photo gallery. I think is what they call it, like brown Camaro.
Yeah, it was number 16 brown Camaro, which I don't think was the correct
number
wasn't. Or color. And the preview picture of it was like out of focus in the background behind a yellow S2000.
Yeah.
Everything about it was so great. But now that color is actually a factory Chrysler color. It is it's called Salsa Red. They used it on like PT Cruisers and like just some random other, I think maybe like the Crossfire or something like that. But I originally wanted to do the atomic orange metallic that they did on like C6 Corvettes, like
Dalton
ice. Yeah, okay. Eye-searing, metallic, pearl, crazy orange. And our painter pulls up the paint code and he's like, okay, so paint's $487 a gallon or something like that. And this one is going to take 2 gallons because it's like 74% clear. And I'm going to have to spray like 57 coats on it to make it work. Or I found this other Chrysler color that's kind of the same. Turns out not the same at all, but it worked out pretty well anyway.
Right.
And we can do it in 1 gallon. We're like, yeah, do that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I went the other direction, but then also didn't have the money to do the second gallon that I needed. And that's why my 240SX was transparent. And to this day, like I don't even own the car anymore. It still bothers me. It's just I can picture the metallic stripes where it did have enough compared to the parts that didn't. Yep. I know Josh is listening to this right now thinking the exact same thing, picturing the exact same fucking door and the hood. Yeah, it looked good from a distance, but once you got up close and you could tell, like, yeah, you're missing like 3 or 4 coats here. Yeah.
You were thinking about that while you were cutting the molded in bumper off too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or when I bought we ran out of paint. So the bottom side of the hood didn't get painted. So it was a totally different color. So like I bought this like heat shield, whatever. It's like silver and just heat shield that didn't need to be there. Just I put it there just so it would cover up the fact that it wasn't painted. And it played a huge role in me getting a carbon fiber hood because I hated it so much.
So that's why you ended up being a ricer, is because you didn't paint the bottom side of your hood, and then it was all downhill from there.
No, I was a ricer long before that.
Oh, okay.
Long before that. No, I would never would have guessed that was a factory color. And then I actually saw a purple FCR X7 when I was in Dayton this weekend, and it was a gorgeous purple, or just a really unique color. And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's just a factory FC factory." I don't know what year, Miata color, like some custom or like special edition Miata color.
Oh yeah,
yeah. No, I mean it looked great on that FC.
Yeah, there's a lot of, so the truck is actually a factory Chrysler color too. Same painter, Mopar guy. He's like, oh, if I want a cool color, I just go to the factory Chrysler color codes and find one. And that one's from a Ram truck. It's called Driftwood.
Huh.
And somehow Driftwood means silver, but
never would have guessed. I picture brown. Driftwood is brown.
Yep. And both of those colors are made up of like 8 or 10 or more different metallics and pearls and different. So both of them, like the truck will turn blue in some light and brown in some light. And then the truck or the Camaro is like very red sometimes, very brown sometimes, very orange sometimes. So we're kind of spoiled to that pearlescent kind of flip floppy kind of color for both of them. So
yeah, no, I like it a lot. No, but the silver on your truck reminds me of the silver I was going for on the 240. But yeah, because the first time I did it was a Corvette silver, like super metallic, and it was fine. And then you had House of Color platinum pearl. So yeah, the platinum pearl reminds me of what yours is right now.
Oh yeah,
and it looks great.
Yeah, House of Color will throw some different random colors in there on it to make it do some wild stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, if we would have had that second gallon, man, it would have looked great. Yeah. Yeah, when you're young, you learn the hard way usually.
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing that we've never. I've painted a motorcycle tank and tail, and a lot of things satin black. That's the extent of my paint and bodywork experience.
Yep. I've done a lot of single stage stuff because I was at the body shop. I was doing like forklifts and scissor lifts, stuff like that, which is just single stage. So I got decent at it. Not good, but decent enough. And then, yeah, with anything on the race car, I'm just going to make it look not shitty, spray paint it, and then cover it with vinyl.
Yeah.
It's going to get broken again eventually.
Yeah. There's a joke to be made about a certain silver BMW, but it might be too soon. I don't know.
It's never too soon. Oh, man.
Oh, so you're packed up and ready to head to Road America?
I am. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to ask you about your. All right. Am I blind? Oh, wait, this is an older picture. I was going to say, where are your mirrors? But then the picture I had was from when it was in the shop from 3 weeks ago. And then now you do have mirrors.
Oh, it has one mirror.
Okay, I'm not crazy.
It has a driver's side mirror, yeah. And so the fun thing about those trucks is the way the windshield wraps around.
You can't see it anyway.
The mirror ends up like, it's like a normal car. The mirror is out in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So this one, to get the mirror in a spot where you could see it around like the vent wing and the wraparound windshield and everything, it's like past my knee behind me. So you have to like look like down and to the side at it to see anything. And it's a mirror for a Camaro. So it's about 4 inches by 2.5 inches. It's kind of a couple of business cards just pasted together over there.
So when you're driving, you got your hands on the steering wheel, obviously. And then your mirror relative to your elbow is what, like directly to the, like on your left right there?
It's
basically?
Probably halfway down it's probably a third of the way down your forearm. Yeah.
Okay. We went the other direction. We had like the exact same setup on the NPO1. We bought one of those like little Formula car carbon fiber mirror things that have like the concave or convex mirror that makes it extra wide. But yeah, they're like the size of a business card. And our options were way the fuck up on the fender where you can't see it, or way like right where yours is, but like you have to turn your head all the way to the left to see it.
Which is super convenient when you're pulling 3 Gs in a corner in a prototype.
God, I fucking miss that feeling.
Laying on your back with your feet above your.
Oh, it's not that dramatic, but yeah. God, I miss that feeling. The feeling of throwing that into the S's at NOLA is, man.
Oh, yeah,
so good.
The S's at NOLA are fun in a big heavy car that you have to like let up a lot for. I can't imagine just being able to just hammer down.
That was the one place I was making up time on Josh. Like Josh was consistently faster than me and everybody because he's an excellent driver. But that was the one place I made up time on him. For whatever reason, I was comfortable keeping my foot in it in the S's. And can't explain why, but for whatever reason, I was comfortable there. And it was the best feeling.
Yeah, that's a super fun section. I can't imagine a car with legit aero. That's
it'll go as fast as you'll let it. It'll just go.
Yeah,
all the grip. And that was on like
it'll go as fast as you're willing to go.
Yeah, basically. And that was on those shitty Coopers too. On Bridgestones, I can only imagine.
I have to say, imagine it on RE71s.
I wish, man. That would have been so good. Yeah, we had them at Sebring with it. Yeah. All right, I gotta stop romanticizing about that car because I know I'm never going to drive it again. I need to stop doing that. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else on this silver C10. Now that you are not lying about your Instagram handle, you have a silver C10 and you can post Instagram pictures about it. And I love it. I fucking love this truck. It's so good. It makes me want to buy that. There's a Ford F100 I drive past on the way to work every single day. And it just sits next to this guy's garage, untouched, patinaed to hell. And I just want to
It's just ready for it's just ready for somebody to come and pluck it and put it on an aftermarket chassis.
I don't want to like make a perfect paint job like yours. I want to keep the patina on that one for whatever reason. I'm not even a patina guy, but that truck, I lust after what I could do to it.
Yeah, in which ours was too far gone when we got it. It had bad rust, like cab corners, all along the roof. So that roof has a drip rail on it, and the top panel on the roof is a separate piece that is spot welded on there, and then they just put some kind of sealer in there, so they all leaked. And it was rusted. The entire top of the windshield, the width of the truck was rusted out, because there's this like kind of like channel that forms up on the inside panel in the roof of it.
It has gutters.
And my dad, essentially, yeah. But so it has a gutter on the outside, and that ends up, like, all the sealer out of that rots out in no time. And so my dad took like a piece of metal tubing and put across there, and then grafted in sheet metal on either side of it to rebuild that whole structure along the top of the windshield. And then I think he got started on the cab corner, and then he was talking to our friend that does body work about it. And he was like, Bob was like, we'll figure out how you're going to pay for it. Just bring it out to my place. We'll trade out engine work or something.
Yeah. When you're trying to cut out cancer and then fix it, it takes, that's a lot of work under the best of circumstances. Yeah.
That we both vividly remember a lot of that. And that was why whenever it was time to find another project, it was like something that the bodywork's already done on. That we ideally don't have to drop 20 grand on for something that's, already restored or more for anything that's halfway desirable. So.
And do you have so you have, like, it's real subtle, but like I really love what you did at the interior. So like, the dash is painted real nice. You have the gauges and all that, and then like these are what are those Brom seats, like racing seats? But they're
Corbos.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I would assume they were Brom.
Yes,
that's that similar style though.
Yeah, so I looked around. I scoured every seat listing on Summit. I looked around everywhere trying to find something that looked like kind of modern, had a decent amount of bolster to it. We ordered one set and we got them in, and they were for like Husky boys.
Oh, like size American.
Like real Husky boys,
like the Evo 3s.
Yeah, these were the widest racing seats I've ever seen in my life that weren't marketed as a wide seat. And so those went back, and then we ended up finding these, and they actually weren't terrible price wise. And black vinyl, they recline, but they've got pockets for harnesses to go through. And
they look perfect for like a street car. You know what I mean? Like a
they're pretty comfortable, which I split daily drive a car with fixed back Cobra buckets, so comfortable to me is relative, but
I can relate.
They were super, like, we've got 5 points in it with a harness bar behind the seats, so like I didn't think once whenever I was on the autocross course about the only thing I was thinking I needed was some kind of a dead pedal, because there's just a lot of extra space that you could put your foot up in the front corner.
Yeah. No, having a dead pedal is a game changer.
Yeah. So that was one of the big things we did right after we started autocrossing the Camaro. I was like, okay, I got out within like 2 events. I got out there and I'm just like bending up aluminum and riveting it into the floor over there. I was like, okay, put some grip tape on this. Okay, now we can go.
Yep.
Which a lot of that came from driving the Z for several years before we started doing that stuff with the Camaro. I was like, okay, like I know how everything should feel in a car that was engineered to do this, and just picking up little things like that. So
then I have one question about the windshield. That it's expensive as all hell. Because like It looks expensive.
I want to say in like the year like 2002 or 2003, it was nearly $700. I can only imagine what it is now.
Oh,
Yeah, so
it's just there's so much curved glass, and it goes like it literally wraps all the way around. I'm just as someone that has to replace the windshield every fucking year, I'm just thinking, man, I would hope to never have to deal with that one.
oh yeah, so the first night that I went up there to drive it, he'd already driven it down the road a couple times. So I take it out. We're just running down to the next town south of them. It's like 10 miles each way. We pass a line. There was like 3 dump trucks that were coming the opposite direction. The first one that comes by, we hear like 2 different rocks hit the truck. And I could have swore that one of them hit the windshield. And we're both like looking all around like, no.
I mean, every single time. Every time the first time you drive a brand new car like that, or a brand new, freshly done car like that, something like that happens.
Yeah. So looked over the windshield, didn't see anything. Go down, turn around, come back. Past the other couple, and I got over on the shoulder to do it because I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to make it at least come all the way over here to hit me. Get back, and we're just kind of looking over some things. I think that was the night we put the hood on, so we're like tweaking the adjustment on the hood and some other stuff. And then I looked down, and he found these LED headlights that just fit in the regular seal beam. They look like a seal beam, but it's got an LED high and low element in it, and it's like 1,000 times better than what a 7-inch steel beam is. Because
I would imagine.
Yeah, it's better than holding a candle out in front of you, so it's way better than a seal beam. I just happened to glance down at the driver's side, and there's a hole square in the middle of it from the rock that hit us.
Oh my
god!
gosh.
It's spider webbed out all the way down. So it's $85 headlight or something like that lasted about 15 miles.
I would have took that as a win though, because that seems like the best thing to break.
Yeah, over the windshield. Yeah, over the windshield, or ended up with a big giant chip in the middle of the hood or something like that. Yep.
No, I remember the first time we painted the 240. I got it back to the house, and I was moving the hood on the little roller cart we had to make room in the shop for everything, and I scratched it up against the fender, the freshly fucking painted fender. I was just like, you always got to get that first scratch in, but of course that one was too big to just let go too. It was like I painted that car too many times, and it was mostly my fault. Yeah, actually, I didn't. So yeah, just so we're clear, Josh painted that car too many fucking times. I never actually painted it unless it was a rattle can fix after it was already broken, like broken.
Yeah, there was a guy at LS Fest that was an older, like 60s maybe Rolls Royce that was LS swapped and like done to the nines inside and out. It was like a brown and tan two-tone metallic paint, and like all the interior was brown and tan and like matching like full street rod style stuff. I was back there while he was talking to some people, and he was like, yeah, I unloading it in the trailer in the parking lot here and driving it inside is the farthest it's been driven, and I've been taking it to shows for 3 years now.
Wow. I
was like, okay. And then he said, it'll eventually get a rock chip on it and I'll be good to drive it, but it hadn't got it yet. So I was like, well, it's not going to get it if you don't drive.
Not like that. Wow. That's wild. I can't imagine.
Like, yeah, there's people that build cars just essentially as art pieces.
Yeah. I mean, I can get that, but man, I can't imagine not driving my car.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I feel like whatever lives at my house has to be street registered so I can just go goof around with it whenever I can't go to the racetrack. So,
yeah. Every time I think about like taking the Z out for like a test or whatever, I'm like, you should probably just register this. It'll cost you like $50. Just do it.
Yeah. It'll be cheaper up front.
Yep. It's insured, so I at least have that going for me. But
yeah, I think that's the bigger one.
Yeah, if you get pulled over that without having insurance, they're going to be a lot madder than if you don't have it registered.
Yeah.
Based in my experiences. Yeah, I think that's it for my questions on your C10. I guess after your autocross, I guess what are your big takeaways for what the next scope creep on it is, because there's many, I'm sure.
Yeah, the big thing is just some tuning tweaks. You know, like I said, spring rate and just chasing down the brake bias issue is the big thing. Just getting enough rear brake back out of it. I'll post up the quickest run that I had during the day. The last 180, it wheel hopped going into it, and the back end just started coming around a little bit, and I just ended up kind of using it like a handbrake to just rotate it into the corner and then just hammer down and power through the back of it. And I was like, that wasn't the ideal way to do it, but man, it was fun.
It sounds like a blast. Man, I love it.
Yeah, so there's another guy that's got a 67 or 8 that's got a similar suspension setup that was there, that I ended up on my last run. We both ran our fastest runs on our last run, and I ended up 44 thousandths away from him for the class. And it was just like, came through, pulled around and parked, and I heard him say on the announcer say that I was 44 thousandths off of him, and I was just like, man, like I want to go back and do it again right now. Like that, like autocross is my stupid heroine. So
it happens, man.
Yep.
I was gonna say I drove the Z for the first time in weeks, like just like after I got done, I was picking it up, and we'll get to the backstory on that here in a minute. And by the it's so different and better than any time I've driven it before, that by the time I got back, I was like, my hands were shaking. I was so excited. I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah, I need that juice of that competition, and that for autocross for me, with it just being like right then,
that quick hit,
just drop the clutch, and here's 40 to 60 seconds to do everything that we've just been thinking about for the last 10 minutes for, leading up to this. Yeah, nothing else like it. I love driving on track, and I love like trying to push a car to the limit that I'm willing to push it on track, but there's nothing quite like the concentrated hit of a competitive autocross run.
I haven't autocrossed since one lap. Yeah, one lap. I think it was the last time. So,
oh yeah,
I'm a little overdue.
Yeah,
it seems like every weekend that we have one here locally, it's like the most inconvenient weekend for me, or my car's not here.
Yeah, I'm at a point where if we can go do something once a month, that's my target right now. And so took the Z out first part of June to just SCCA time trials, and got to test out new brakes on it, and then get autocross this month, and then decide next month if I want to drive the truck or the Camaro or the Z.
At Grid Life Heartland Park, yeah, it'd be great.
I'm going to be up there one way or another. I just don't know what I'm going to drive,
or
if I'm just going to go shoot pictures, because I have a lot more luck taking pictures at Grid Life events than I do driving. So
it happens, man. Hey, I've done that too. Like I really enjoyed my photography weekend that I did that one time.
Yep. So we'll see. I'll be up there to hang out and goof off one way or another. So
sounds perfect to me, man. I'll be there too. I'm not 100% sure on what I'm doing yet, because it's not a GLTC weekend. So I don't know if I'll do the same thing. Maybe just hang out. But yeah, I'll be there one way or another.
Yeah, which it's potentially super grid, right?
Potentially, but nobody will drive with me.
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah, it needs to survive. It needs to survive a weekend where I don't want to burn it to the ground before I'm going to throw it in super grid too.
About to say we can talk next week.
Yeah, exactly.
See how see how your trip to Road America that I'm very jealous of goes.
Yes. So we can kind of jump into that. So if you recall, I wasn't able to finish the weekend at Festival with the Z. Come to find out that my previous tune, basically to get the horsepower numbers I was aiming for, the basically just pulled timing, I guess is for lack of a better term. So I think there's a handful of things going on, and we learned this over the course of the last 4 weeks. So at Grid Life, I had Joe Lala from Dula Design and Performance take pity on me, for lack of a better term. Took him out for a drive. He took some data logs, and yeah, there's some goofy stuff going on, like with the tune. And basically, he said, replace your injectors, coil packs. Basically, go through your wiring harness, check a bunch of stuff, and then basically call me. Then he wanted me to do a compression test. Basically just knock out the sanity check stuff. Did all that.
Yeah, make sure that something obvious mechanical is not causing this.
Yep. So I skipped race 4, just put the car away, and was ready to go home and just do all that shit. Compression was spot on. Got new injectors. I guess remand injectors, probably a better way of saying it. New coil packs. And then basically gave it a once over. Everything felt good. He did a remote tune. Actually, one step beyond that. So because UpRev is not super user friendly, when it comes to, I guess it's just finicky. I guess is probably a better way to put it. It's not user friendly. It's just finicky. So it would not like to upload tunes onto my car because I have all that shit from inside pulled out. So all this extra, all these modules and all this everything that doesn't need to be there is gone. So I still have my climate control module, my ABS module, and my body control module because all the CAN systems spidered through it. But none of those have anything attached to it that it expects to see that I don't need. So when I try to upload a tune, I get an error. I guess I probably get a couple errors, but usually the one that pops up is battery load too high was the one I kept seeing. So Joe did was he made a CAN bus disconnect. So basically I have a separate USB or OBD2 dongle that is spliced in before my other one, my actual OEM one. And then after it is a splice in the CAN bus wires. So basically to flash a tune at random, anytime I just want to go in and flash a tune to the car, I turn everything off, I disconnect the CAN bus wires, and then I use the OBD2 that we added to basically bench flash the ECU in the car.
So it's essentially what you were having to do before with going through and disconnecting a bunch of things manually in different parts of the car, or?
Yeah, so I'd never done it. The previous tuner had said that he went through and basically pulled a shitload. His words were a shitload and of fuses and relays. He said it looked like he was holding Skittles in his hand by the time he was done. And I don't know.
Comforting.
I don't know what he all pulled out, what fuses, what relays, and I couldn't get a clear answer when I was trying to basically poke him after this event. Was so which ones did you pull out? And they didn't give me a good enough answer for me to feel confident. And then, Joe was like, why don't we just do this? Basically allow you to bench flash it in the car. So, we basically just created a harness and did that, and it worked great. So he did a remote tune. So he kept saying, yeah, let's do it over Teams. And I have Microsoft Teams at work. He meant Team Viewer because that's the remote.
He didn't call it Teen Viewer, so you were.
Yeah, confused. I was so confused. I was like, I know Teen Viewer, but so I sent him he goes, all right, I'm ready. He's like, and so I sent him. He's like, just send me this and this, and I was like, so I sent him the information I had for Teams, and he's like, no, you need to do that. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he's like, Team Viewer. Oh no, we have Microsoft Teams at work. I'm a dumb.
So the great way to start off an exchange like this with somebody who is very technically knowledgeable up here is to like completely screw up the really basic part of just communicating with them. That's the way to start off on the right foot.
No, the starting off on the right foot is to go through a traumatic experience together. So when he took data logs in my car, which only has one seat on the road, I forced him into a traumatic experience with me, and now we're bonded through that.
Yeah, you're bonded. Yep. Okay. Yep. Solid plan. Plan.
So basically, it's Stockholm syndrome because I captured him, and now we're buddies.
You led him through the situation that you put him in by your own negligence.
It's all A-Man's fault. That's all I'll say. Yeah. So the funny thing was, I had been without internet for like 3 days at that point. My stupid end of the line internet, you know, and so I'd been without internet. So I'm on the phone with him, which is also my hotspot to use my computer for him to remote in. So we're doing this
is that like picking up the phone back in the dial-up days? Did it like screw it up whenever you tried to talk or something?
But like I had my phone sitting on my chair, like just outside the shop for as good as reception as I could possibly get, so it's not getting interfered with by the the metal building. So then I'm standing next to the computer, doing everything it tells me, like shut the computer, turn the TV, computer, or turn the car off, wait 10 seconds, turn it on, stuff like that. And so then he's trying to call me, but I don't hear it. So then he's chatting with me on TeamViewer. He's like, "Go get your phone." So like, how he had the patience for me is beyond me, but we got through it. The tune worked fine. I was able to get it so that we felt safe enough to drive it and put it on the trailer. And this is Friday. I think it's the Friday before 4th of July. And I was like, "So what's your schedule look like?" Because he was like doing me a solid, like fitting me into his insanely busy schedule that he obviously did not have to do. And I was like, "Man, I'm at your mercy here, because if it's not for you, this car's not getting fixed. It's not getting done. I don't know. I don't know what to do." So he's like, "Yeah, just bring it down, and then we'll get it in." So I was like, "All right, well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow." So I loaded up the car, and Jess came home from work and saw the truck and trailer was loaded, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to Dayton, Ohio tomorrow." So drove to Dayton.
Don't tell Robbie you're ready for something unless you want it like the next day.
It's only like 9-hour drive. Yeah, like a 9-hour drive. It's fine. So yeah, just hopped in the car. I got up at like 5. And I had like a fucked up head cold. So like I stopped like 3 times more than I normally would have stopped. I actually made myself stop to eat dinner or like lunch. So I got there at like 6:30. Dropped the car off, chit-chatted for a while. Ended up, probably got out to like 8 o'clock. And then made it to Indy through like that crazy storm. I had White Castle for the first time. Felt great because I finally had eaten something. And then probably an hour later, felt terrible again because of White Castle. Made it. How far did I make it? I made it like probably halfway through Illinois before I had to do like just a power nap at like a gas station, or not gas station, like a rest stop, and then got up in the morning and made it the rest of the way home. But like I don't know. After Midwest Festival, I was like so burned out, like this was beyond me. I'm so convinced there's no fucking way I would have figured this out on my own. Like if I didn't have him to do the logs in the car to let me know that the timing's weird, I never would have figured it out.
So the way UpRev works, like you didn't have access to the actual tune that was in there, right?
No, he could pull. Yeah, he could pull logs and look. I know
he was basically just logging what the ECM was doing. He wasn't looking at the base tune that was loaded.
No, I didn't have the password. So the previous tuner, which I assume all tuners do this, was that they put a password on their tune, so I could switch tunes. Like so, if I use someone else's tune or if he sent me another one, I could just load it. But I had no access to it because I had no password. And he didn't have the password either. So he was just doing logs. So yeah, he was making some guesses at Midwest Festival as to what he thought was going on. But yeah,
And then did he just basically start over from scratch?
Oh yeah, well, that Friday when we were remote tuning in, he's like, "All right, I can put a tune on this that's my own," and I was like, "Go for it!" Like as far as I'm concerned, your tune is what's going on this car from now on. Even if I have to drive to Dayton, Ohio a few times a year, I have found my tuner. We're done here.
Yeah, I was after hanging out in the trailer with that hour and a half long discussion or however long it was that he was just hanging out at Gingerman. I was like, yeah, I like this dude.
Yeah. He didn't know me from Adam, and he just took the time to explain probably what was going on with my car, his thoughts, what he would do, and he took a genuine interest because I kind of described the GLTC rule set and what I was going for. Because I mean, detuning isn't really that common for anything he's done. So I was like, well, the LS cars, they just, they limit the throttle a little bit and they detune the shit out of them. So he's like, you should be able to do that in up rev. And so, yeah, basically took an interest in the fact that it was a totally unique way of doing a tune, I guess. So then, so he looked into it, and over the last basically the entire month of July, it's been in Dayton, Ohio while he's working on it at his shop as time allowed. So the worst part of it for me was that every time he'd call, because I bet I talked to him on the phone more than anybody in the last, my phone log was Joe. And then a couple from Jess and my wife. That was it. Or my wife and my mom. That was it. I didn't talk to anybody on the phone except for Joe and those two other people.
It's wait a minute, who's Jess?
No, my wife and my mom. But yeah. But when he'd call, we'd end up talking about it for a half hour. So, but every time he'd do it, every time he'd send me a picture, though, I'm like, what broken piece of shit on my car did he find? So the cam sensor or the cam connector for the passenger side sensor had been replaced previously, and those wires were not that great. So that he replaced that. Found a few other odd things but that was the big one. And then he's like, well, it kind of leaks here, it kind of leaks there. I was like, I know, it kind of leaks all the time.
It's like letting somebody into your house and them seeing all the different things that you just band-aided over because you don't mind looking at it, but you don't want anyone else to.
I felt like as bad of a mechanic as Abe thinks Jabay is. That's how bad I felt. I was embarrassed. And he goes, dude, seriously, don't even think I would apologize to him. I was like, I promise you, I thought I sent you a good car ready to go. I thought it was ready for a tune. He was like, you wouldn't believe the shit I see on a daily basis. This is nothing.
Yeah, I can only imagine what you see, especially being a guy that works primarily with 350Z people.
I know how bad us 350Z people are.
Yeah, Z people and Mark, think about I think he does a lot of Supra stuff too. Think about a Mark IV Supra. That's a 25-year-old car. That's had a lot of people doing dumb stuff to it over the years.
Yeah. Yep. So yes, a lot of the stuff he found were, again, not super uncommon things. Stuff I'm kind of annoyed with myself for not catching earlier. But yeah, so some of his recommendations are stuff like a new wiring harness would be smart, just because it has been spliced into a bunch of times because it was a twin turbo E85 car before I got it. So it's been mangled a little bit.
Yeah.
So he basically went through and had been working on it, learning how to tune it in the way that made the most sense. So he's done a bunch of work with the throttle body, and he referred to it as magic mode. So changing how the throttle responds. And that was the first thing I noticed when I took it out for a drive. The throttle response is night and day from what the factory settings were to what he has it at now. And
interesting.
I cannot explain to you what that means or what he did or what magic settings he changed, but the throttle response is unreal.
So that's interesting because I've always, especially if I would drive the Camaro a lot, cable throttle on a really snappy carburetor, or especially after we went to EFI, and then get back in the Z, it's always felt like it had a lag.
I think that's factory. That is the thing.
It's yeah, and I've always just chalked it up to drive by wire, just like,
you can tune
whatever. That's this conversation is going to cost me money.
And a trip to Dayton, Ohio, I would bet. But he could tune it via TeamViewer if you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dayton's, let me see how far Dayton is from here.
I was like, he's not sponsoring this show, but I will say, if you have a Z or a Mark IV Supra, you're wasting your time going anywhere else. I'm truly blown away at his attention to detail. The time he took for this, the fact that he took the time to even fit this into his insanely busy schedule. I'm forever in his debt, for real. Yeah, so he got me. We have 3 maps because he really focused on maintaining torque, like all the way through the curve. So like getting me as much torque as possible for as long as possible, and then focusing on getting my horsepower numbers. And so I have 3 maps. We'll have to see where I land because he's at a Mustang dyno, so I'm gonna have to see where I land on the Grid Life GLTC dyno, which I was gonna have to do anyways. So I basically said, here's roughly what I'm aiming for, and he has a way to like factor in to get, like, he has the Mustang number, and then he has like a I can't think of what the proper term is.
Yeah, there's a correction factor.
There it is, correction factor.
Somewhat apply to it. It's I'm gonna pull some things out of my butt that I don't know anything about, but the way the Mustang like loads versus like a dyno jet, it gives you a little bit different overall power picture, but you can.
So he had me send I save everything, so I still had my dyno sheets from every tune I've ever had on the Z. So I sent him all my old dyno sheets, and I was like, this is what was on it. And he was like, we were able to kind of correlate like what the, on the max power versus what the max power was on the dyno jet at that other site. So it was, they lined right up, like the correction factor seemed correct. And then of course you got to take into account like the perfect, the temperature, the humidity, all that shit. But
yeah, you'll need to, especially going from Ohio to Iowa to Wisconsin, there's a little bit of a difference in elevation and temperature and everything else. So it was also the first time I've ever just like dropped a car off and had somebody else. Like, I mean, I did that with the 240 when I could not figure out how to get that SR20 running, and then that sat for forever, and I hated that. And I don't ever want to do that again. So having it sit there for 3 weeks, I would just feel like such an inconvenience. Like I know like that's what that was the point, but like I feel like I'm inconveniencing him. I should be the one working on it, and again, this is beyond my scope of any expertise. After you get that dyno installed in your shop, then
maybe I can start focusing on this myself.
That's what Dalton would do. He would find somebody's discount rusty dyno because he couldn't get his
But I mean, well, now we got, we got Paragon Performance here in Waukee. I got Offline Performance here on the other side of town, and then I got Sunk River up in Ames. So, I mean, I do have dynos I can rent by the hour and then have him remote in. So if we need to make changes in the future, so I don't have to go all the way to Dayton. Now that he's had the time to go through it all, and everything seems to be on the up and up on the mechanical and wiring side. Yep.
It's a little easier to think about renting time for that.
Yep. Yeah, we did a leak down, and there was one cylinder was at, I think, 14%, one was at 11, and then the rest were all at 6, which not ideal, but could be a lot worse. So
considering you bought it in a crate,
that led to that conversation, and I was like, yeah, I bought this in pieces probably, what was that, 3 years ago, and then I just replaced everything. So I replaced the rings, the bearings, all that stuff, And he looks at me, "You've been racing this for 3 years?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, I didn't really think anything of it. Like, yeah, I just threw it back together. Like, what, well, that's what everybody does, right? With VQs, no, that's not what everybody does. They do that and then they blow up. The fact that you've gotten 3 years out of this engine is pretty impressive. So like, he said that while like showing me all the things I fucked up, but like then he gave me a compliment, so I'll take it. So I at least have one feather in my cap that I bought this VQ for $300 and I've been racing it for years. So, but yeah, so got the car tuned last week. Yeah, so this is the week before Road America, so he was able to get it done in time. No issue whatsoever. So then it was just like, well, when can you come get it? And like, of course, Saturday. So then I got up at 5, drove straight through, picked up the car, test drove the car, felt great. Super excited about driving it on track again. Just took it like on some side streets kind of by where his shop is, and yeah, she feels rowdy and ready to go. And one other thing that we learned, and it's not super common on VQs, but it is super common on, I think it's I can't remember what gen, but Lancers. I think it was the Evos. So I think part of the reason I think at Gingerman, I believe the reason I was down on power was because of the tune and the way they just pulled timing. So that once it was at hot temps and then being abused for 20 minutes at a time, it would just pull timing and then just basically pull power out of itself. However, that misfire, we believe, wasn't real. Because with Evos, what happens is if you have a lightweight pulley or lightweight pulleys and a lightweight flywheel, your revs spin so fast that the computer has a setting in it that if your revs are going faster than it thinks it is capable of, it'll throw a misfire code.
Oh, weird.
So he reached out to some Nissan experts and reached out to like I think UpRev and some other people and was kind of like he goes, it doesn't sound like it's knocking, but it's giving us or like a misfire, and it was I don't know the specifics of it, but basically they were saying like, yeah, we've seen this before on I believe it was Evos. Yeah, when you have the lightweight pulleys and lightweight flywheel, the rate of acceleration of the RPMs is greater than it thinks it should be or capable of, and then it throws a code.
Huh.
So I think he changed some settings in there, and it doesn't do that anymore, and it's not knocking and it's not misfiring.
Nice.
And he abused it on the dyno to try to make it do it, and it never did it.
Yeah. Sweet.
So I'm hoping, fingers crossed that that is exactly what it is. Because yeah, I mean, I do have, I believe, one of if not the lightest flywheel I can have. I do have all lightweight pulleys, and yeah, it does rev extremely fast. He said it was the fastest. Like the way it revs up is faster than anything he's had for a VQ, which was the intent. So.
Nice. What flywheel and clutch do you have on it?
I have the competition clutch ultra lightweight flywheel, and I have the ACT 6-puck unsprung because I'm a masochist.
Because you like race car things.
Yep, and then it's solid mounts everywhere, everything, absolutely everything. There is not a poly bushing left, which makes it really hard to diagnose weird sounds.
What to say? So everything is always making an odd, awful sound.
Yep. So yeah. So when you're street driving it, trying to like, is this thing fucking knocking or not? You don't know because you hear transmission noises through the solid mounted transmission, through the loud clackety clutch.
Yeah. Just doing the subframe bushings and putting one spherical in the front of mine took it from like, this is a pleasant car to drive to it always sounds like it's falling apart and I cannot chase down what the noises are. So I think it's just the car.
Yeah. The car is loud and rowdy and I like it a lot. There is one thing I don't like, and that is my Tomy limited slip. I don't like the way it engages and disengages. I mean, on track it's fine, but it is like it's almost like it's a welded diff in a parking lot when I'm trying to get through paddock. Like it just like it kind of engages and disengages on it, like just like you can just see the car just like shaking as it's like trying to go around a corner because it's probably a way I could probably fine tune that. I'm just not capable. Like I have never done it, but yeah.
Is it a clutch type?
Yeah, yeah. But I know Geikens are kind of the go-to. So
yeah, you just have to like know somebody in a forest somewhere that has a stash of them. Apparently,
yeah. I know Julio Crispin just went to one because I think he had, I don't know what he had before, but yeah, he went to a Geiken Sense festival as well. So maybe that's on the the future wish list. But yeah, I mean the Tomy works on track. It's never a problem, but the way it just is so shitty in paddock, it kind of makes me question how good it really is on track.
Yeah, if it's that harsh, just going around a corner in paddock, what's it doing to the car?
Am I really driving it as if it's welded? I mean, which is probably more true than not. But
is it what they call like the 1.5 way?
It's the T-Trax 1.5. And I honestly don't know anyone that runs it besides me. So
yeah, we had a Quaif in mine early on because I wanted something that was just maintenance free.
Mm-hmm.
And we've run helical diffs that same style in the Camaro and the truck. And like the Camaro and the truck, if you turn one wheel, the other wheel turns the same direction. And the Z, I turn one wheel and the other wheel turns the opposite direction. And I'm like, I think it should work the same way because they're all just the helical gear type. So
really, it does.
I don't know. I never have.
Weird.
Yeah. I never have looked into it that much, but I know on an autocross course, whenever you dig out of a slow tight corner, whenever you dig out of it, it will still diff out the inside tire. And I found some stuff early on about Quaifs because I think Quaifs were kind of big with Mustang guys and the guys that had the IRS like Cobras. If they went to a really stiff rear bar, they said it would unload the inside tire and it would just dump torque there. Basically that the axle has to stay planted like fairly evenly across both. So if you get a really stiff car that it could unload. So I just need to send $1,600 to Z1 and be done with it. But
yeah. And I think the biggest hang up for me was that if I go to a Geiken, I also need to replace my axle stubs. And then it adds up fast. Then I got to go down the path of like, well, do I really want the gears that I have? And then it turns into a $3,000 endeavor almost immediately.
Yeah.
So, because I just got the stock gears, and I know a lot of people don't do that. They go to the 4.08, I think. Yeah,
I think Austin did that fairly recently, right?
I think that's what Julio ended up going with too. I'm still at the 3.53. I don't know. Again, it's not super accurate, but I did a bunch of like simulations. But yeah, I went through on Assetto and changed all the gear ratios, and then basically let it run like a half-hour race, and then compared all of the data of all the racers with all the gear sets, and then was like, well, good enough.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say it was one of those things. Like some tracks it made a difference, other tracks it didn't make a difference. So
yeah, so just go ahead and do the quick change. And
yeah, see, I'm still convinced the future of GLTC is quick change diffs, and everyone's gonna have a fucking gear set for every different track. I'm calling it right now.
Yep, it's the only way to go is up.
Even if they're not quick change, I guarantee you that a gear set for each track is going to be a thing for sure.
Yeah. So stock is 353.
Yep. That's what I got.
Yeah. And that I know mine at our tracks around here, I'm always slower corners are almost always, if I get down into second, I need third again by the time I'm like halfway through corner exits, so it never ends up being a benefit to do it. But third is so long that it just feels super slow.
Yeah. So we'll see.
And that's at full power with an HR versus a flat tuned DE.
Right.
So, but hopefully you're making all the torque now. So
I have all the torque it'll let me get for as long as it'll let me do it. Yeah, he spent a lot of time doing that. So I'm hoping. I mean, it felt torqueier than that I'm comparing it to how it was like really shitty recently. So, but it definitely felt way better. We'll see on track how it feels. But yeah, I'm legitimately excited to drive that car again, and that was not the case 4 weeks ago.
That's a good 180-degree shift from the last time I saw you.
Yeah, no, I was over it, man. I was so burned out. I was just like, all this time, effort, and money, and just fuck it. I don't even want to do it anymore. I actually legitimately bought a pair of skates after that. I needed something else. So.
Yeah, that's why I have a bag full of camera gear and a couple of bicycles hanging in the garage, because if I focus in on the one thing too much, I end up just not liking it and not liking my ability to do it on a regular basis. So,
oh yeah, no, because I told myself, I was like, I'm gonna get the car ready and everything's gonna be great, and then I'm gonna spend a bunch of the spring and summer just sitting on the sim rig and getting better at this. And like it got to the point where I was like, I don't even fucking care if I'm better at this. Like I'm over it. Like I don't even get in the sim. I want to get better at skating now. Just I need something to break it up. And so far I found a pretty good balance of that this summer, I think.
Nice.
But yeah. So last weekend, went to pick up the car. So I got up at 5. Was feeling great, so I didn't have to do extra stops to get like Sudafed and cold medicine. So I would drive until I was out of gas, get gas, drive until I got out of gas again. Drove until I think I needed gas around 10:30, somewhere in some like sketchy part of Illinois, which is all of Illinois, but like a sketchy part of Illinois. And then it was super inconvenient to get to the food places because they were like, I'd have to exit and then I'd take a right, and then I couldn't get like across the 4 lanes of traffic to go back left where I needed to go. So I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with this. So then I was like, I'll go until I see something I like. And then I drove for an hour and a half before I found any food that I wanted to eat. And at that point I was like delirious. And I honestly don't. Oh yeah, McDonald's. I finally settled on McDonald's because like there was literally nothing for an hour and a half. And I was like, this all sucks. And I'm sure I drove past like 20 McDonald's to get to that McDonald's, but it's just like nothing sounded good before I was like finally to the point where like I need anything. Made it to Dayton by I think it was like 4 o'clock, like on the nose, in Ohio time. And then, took the car out for a test drive. Felt great, loaded it up, hung out in the shop for I think I was there probably a total of an hour. And then I was just like, yep, I'll head back. And I was going to see how far I could make it. My stretch goal was to make it near the Iowa border. My thought process there was that I didn't really feel like parking at a truck stop, and I didn't feel great about parking at a rest stop. So I was like, well, there's a casino right at the border with a well lit, like totally lit up parking lot. I was like, I'll just park in the back of the casino. The casino's open 24 hours. I can just go in if I need to use the facilities. I can just get my power nap in and be on my way.
Go in, drop $1 in the slot machine. Nobody will be the wiser.
Yeah, there's that too. But yeah, like my thought process was that in my mind, I'm like, this feels better than a Walmart parking lot. This feels better than a truck stop. This feels like I feel like less sketchy shit's going to happen in the back of a casino parking lot. How true that is a totally different conversation. But in my mind, that made sense.
When you say it back, it can sound a little bit different. But
back of a parking lot of a truck stop, back of a parking lot of a casino. It's a roll of a dice, really. But by like 9 o'clock, I was pretty much wide awake. And I was talking to Jess. I'm like, I don't want to stop. I'm like, I'll be home by 2. So I just kept driving. At 9 o'clock, I stopped I got a Mountain Dew Baja Blast. And that was going to be like, this is going to get me through. And it probably should have just been a proper energy drink at that point. Or coffee. Coffee would have been better.
Yeah, less sugar crash involved there.
So, but like, I mean, it's never to the point where I was like tired, right? Because I told myself, no matter what, even if I'm close, if I start to like notice that I'm tired, I will stop. Like, because that's basically what I did on the drive home the first time. I was like, if I get to the point where I'm tired, I will stop, and I stuck to it. But like, I never really got tired. I was just fucking bored. Like, I ran out of automotive podcasts halfway to Dayton, and then I listened to like, it's called the Jump Street podcast. It's all like skating from like all, the skaters from back in the day. So I'm listening to like skating podcasts for like the whole drive back. And at 9 o'clock, I had to switch to music because podcasts are not going to keep me awake. Like,
there's only so much people talking that'll actually keep you energized.
Nope. And lucky for me, Jess did like a girls' cousin weekend at the Ozarks. Like, they went and saw Shania Twain on Wednesday, and then they went down to the Ozarks and just like hung out at the lake or whatever. And then she went out with her, like they went to the bars and shit. And she doesn't drink. So I knew she was going to be calling me like every time she got sick of being around drunk people. So like she called me at like, I think it was like 12:30, and it was like the perfect time. So like I let her complain about how annoying drunk people are, and like just that conversation kind of woke me up, and I was just like, all right, perfect. We'll power through this last hour and a half, and I'll be home. So yeah, so I did the full round trip, Des Moines to Dayton to Des Moines, in 21 hours. Because I'm insane.
This is where we say do as we say, not as we do, kids.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely wouldn't recommend it. But I can't imagine. Like, because E-Man wants me to go to Lime Rock, and that's like literally twice as far. Fuck that.
So we did Vegas 3 years, and it's like 22 hours total. Or no, it was like 18. I think it was like 18 total, and we split it up. We drove 5 the first night, drove the full day the second day, and then drove the last like 2.5 on Sunday morning. And it was, like, and across New Mexico, so there's just nothing
for
forever,
just
hours and hours and hours. Yeah,
no,
it's
no.
We traveled enough 2018, 2019 that I got to where we could just knock out, like we just do a 9-10 hour driving day, stop for the night, hop back in and go again. Didn't think that much of it. I'm out of practice. That doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. There was like, I was looking at when the Great Life schedule came out, I was looking at it, and like I remember like I want to do Laguna Seca, obviously. But I looked at it and it was like, it's like a 30-hour drive. I was like, and my initial thought was, oh, so it's 2 days of 15-hour drives. I could do that. And then like, after doing this, I'm like, fuck that. No, I have no interest in that at all.
No, so I've come to terms with the fact that I really, really, really want to drive Laguna someday, and it's going to be just renting a Spec Miata or something out there for like $2,500 for the weekend, because it's going to cost that much to ship my own junk out there and not have any of the spares or the tools or anything else that I want with it, because it's going to be whatever will fit in the trunk.
Yep.
And so yeah, I just need to go rent a race car and drive that place and just enjoy it for what it is. But
And then I also have the other end of the spectrum, which shows you how insane I am. Because as I'm rolling into Des Moines, I'm telling myself, you do realize that the Cannonball record's only like 24 hours, which means you basically just did the entire Cannonball length by yourself, which means you could totally do the Cannonball if you had the right car.
If
I had the right car, I have proven that I can drive for that long. Yeah, that's how
We
sick,
already-
that's how
we already
sick in
knew
the head
after-
I am.
Yeah, we already knew after one lap that was well within your capabilities. So
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe one day soon. Maybe not. This conversation never happened.
yeah. Statute of limitations is already up.
Yep. Have I thought about how an Apex Pro could track my data the whole way through so I could prove that it was real? Maybe. Have I thought about the fact that I could have a Sentinel live stream the whole thing and then save that? Maybe.
No service. No.
That is my biggest problem with the Sentinel is that I cannot get it to connect when I want it to connect, and it's just like Grid Life doesn't work. There's no bandwidth, and then I'm in a dead zone for T-Mobile at my house. First world problems, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yep. These are problems, but they're not huge problems.
No. So yeah, my Sentinel's hooked up, but I've yet to actually have it work. But yeah, so that's the Z's ready to rock. I went through it yesterday and did the whole wrench on every driveline component, make sure everything's tight. Basically, we have a once over on everything in the engine, once over in the cabin. Basically, just get everything so I feel confident that it's ready. Everything, yeah, nut and bolted and torqued everything. Actually, then because this is the NASCAR Xfinity Series weekend, I wanted to make sure the vinyl was right, so I cleaned up all my vinyl that looked like shit. Put new Dula design, performance, and tuning stickers all over the car because I can't thank him enough, and I want to share with the world that the only reason I'm there is because Joe took the time for my car. Because there's no fucking way I'd be at this race if it wasn't for him. So the moral of the story is it's okay to ask for help when you need it, as hard as it may be.
Yep. I am guilty of the same thing, so
Yep.
you can probably learn that lesson here and there too. So
Yep. So I'm very excited for this weekend. I have high hopes. I'm not like my high hopes. I don't mean like top 10. I'm not insane. I mean I am, but not like that. But I expect the car to be the best it's ever been. So we'll see we'll see if that means anything. But I'm excited.
So y'all get on track on Thursday?
Yeah, we show up Wednesday, practice and qualies on Thursday. I think we do 3 races on Friday and 1 race on Saturday. Or maybe it's 2 and 2. Because we're done at like noon on Saturday.
Yeah, crazy.
I don't know. I got the schedule printed and hanging in my trailer, but I can't remember exactly the times off the top of my head. Because I think there's 2 20-minute practices and a qualification on Thursday. Maybe. And maybe it is 2 and 2 for races. I can't remember. But yeah, so it should be a super fun weekend. We got GLTC, some Grid Lifetime Attack. We got the Porsche Cup, and we got obviously the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which I assume it's going to be very like segregated into 3. Like you got the Grid Life groups, which is basically at the entrance right after you get through the gate, and then you got the Porsche people, and then you obviously have NASCAR. And I assume it's very segregated 3 groups, and I assume that as soon as the sun goes down, all of the paddock that's not Grid Life is gone. I assume it's just like WRL where everyone's just gone. Besides the spectators.
I would guess that the NASCAR crowd probably has a motorhome compound somewhere there, but
yeah. But I mean like not
the party
the
party will for sure be in the Grid Life paddock, so
well, I mean it won't be quite as big in our paddock because Dalton's not even going.
We don't know that yet.
That is fair. He thought he had a ticket, learned today, which is Monday. Is that Monday? Yeah, Monday, that he didn't have a ticket, but
First day on track is Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. Thursday. You need to be at the track in Wisconsin on Wednesday.
Yep. It's fine.
Yep.
He'll probably be there. Actually, I haven't been paying attention to the group chat. I guarantee it's already figured out by the time we hang up on this.
Yeah, probably so.
All right. Well, Dusty, I appreciate you coming on and talking about the Silver C10 that is you, the Instagram Silver C10. I don't know what's your actual @ Silver C10. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Yep. So I'll be tagged in things
Instagram.
on the gram.
Yeah, Instagram and a little bit of YouTube, but mostly Instagram. Silver, the letter C 10. I don't know that I've ever plugged that on here in the 5 years that I've been coming on.
I think you've mentioned it for sure.
Maybe once.
Yeah. And we tag you and stuff when I actually post on Instagram, which has been a while. But
get more out of posting photos than anything else.
I get it. But yeah, hi, thanks for coming on. This was supposed to be a very short show, and it turned into a regular length show, but I appreciate it.
Yep, we'll do that.
Every time. But yeah, hopefully,
man.
Yeah.
Well, good luck at Road America.
Yep, thank you very much, and we'll catch everybody else next week.